Block B, narrated and created by Tons of Stories on YouTube. A man by the name of Jeffrey woke up in a completely white room. This room had a black door all the way at one wall with the letter B written above it. He didn't know what it meant. But what he did know was that the room wasn't symmetrical at all, and there was markings on the wall behind him. The markings on the wall looked like if you put a painting on the wall and painted over it, then removed the painting. It was odd and bizarre. Before he could explore his barren surroundings any longer, he heard a microphone click. Block A has failed. Block B will now be commencing the trials. At that moment, he finally understood the severity of the situation he found himself in. He noticed the B across the door. That must have meant what his block was. Jeffrey was scared, didn't know what to do. He watched the door patiently, every second feeling like a minute. Then he heard a click behind him. He turned around faster than a normal person would, adrenaline coursing through his veins. But to his surprise, the markings on the wall had now changed into a holster. The holster was carrying a 9mm pistol. He picked it up and checked out the mag. It had 12 shots in it. Once he received his weapon, he knew that stuff would get serious within the minute. Then he heard over the speaker, "Kennels, open." His blood ran cold. In his mind, he was imagining massive wolves pouncing on him and ripping apart every fiber of his being. Then the door opened, and what came out was something like a hellhound. It walked out slowly, and then 3 more did, following its steps. 4 of them were now in the room by the door. They were each over 6 feet tall, on all fours. Before any of the hellhounds could react, Jeffrey fired off a round from his pistol. The bullet landed and hit its mark, right in the center of its skull. With that, all the other hellhounds jumped into action, pouncing across the over 40-foot-long floor in a matter of seconds. They were already there. He jumped to the side, narrowly dodging one of their pounces, and shot off another bullet. The first one missed, but the second one hit its mark. It shot it in its neck and it dropped down within a second. The other 2 did not take kindly to this, so they both pounced at the same time, but missed and hit each other, scratching out both of their eyes. Jeffrey took advantage of the situation before him and shot them both while they were recuperating. He was wondering what was going to happen next. He expected the round to end after killing the final hellhound. While looking at the back wall, he heard something behind him, a stomp, unlike what he had ever heard before. He turned around and to his surprise, stood a being over 15 feet tall. It was a gargantuan beast with the body of a bodybuilder. It stood there with its Herculean strength, looking at him ominously with all 3 of its heads. Its head was more like Cerberus's head. The 3 hellhound heads looked at him, watching his every move. Before Jeffrey could react, Cerberus started barreling down to him, claws out. He narrowly dodged a dash, barely escaping the mauls of his captor. Before anyone could react, he shot it in its Achilles heel. It howled in pain, but only the middle head howled. He thought this was odd. After being shot, Cerberus turned to face him, but he shot the middle one right in its skull. At that moment, once the middle head had died, the 2 other heads had lost control over the legs. The 2 other heads noticed this, so they used both their arms to walk like a gorilla would, propelling themselves forward with their knuckles. The beast was too slow for Jeffrey and his reaction speed. He shot both of the heads. After all the monsters were dead, their carcasses disappeared in a pixel-like fade. The same happened to his trusty 9mm. The disembodied voice congratulated him over the speaker. It told him that round 2 would be starting. He heard a buzzer over the speaker, but before he could react, a flame burst into the room. This level must have been survived the flame. He turned to the wall, but nothing laid before him. He looked up and saw a massive timer. The timer read 10 minutes. It was slowly counting down each second, and he knew that he had to survive this flame for 10 minutes. After surviving 3 minutes, he passed out. Unfortunately for Jeffrey, he would never regain consciousness. Jeffrey has met his fate. Thanks for listening to my story. Sorry I take long between uploads, but I gotta come up with stories, so yeah. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.